They were the most extraordinary creatures ever to walk the land. Some were huge. Some were terrifying. And some were downright bizarre. But they all had one thing in common. They lived in our own backyards. Now, journey back to a time when the world was a jungle primeval and dinosaurs roamed America. To most New Yorkers, the hustle and bustle of downtown Manhattan is where the action is. But 225 million years ago, this was no man's land, smack in the middle of nowhere. All the continents were joined together in one giant supercontinent called Pangaea. Now it was breaking up. North America was tearing away from Africa along a rift parallel to the present-day East Coast. As the rift widened, it gave birth to the Atlantic Ocean and created a string of freshwater lakes scientists call the Newark Supergroup. Back then, an evening on planet Earth looked like a scene out of science fiction. On the surface, an eerie gloom pervades the atmosphere. About 20 million years earlier, evidence indicates an asteroid crashed to Earth. The collision triggered the Permian extinction, which wiped out over 90% of all living things. Out of the disaster, a new world was born. It's the Triassic period. After millions of years of evolution, conditions are ripe for something new, something different. The dinosaurs. A freshwater lake is the local watering hole, but the customers don't always mix. Coelophysis, danger lurks just below the surface. Rutiodon is quick, but Coelophysis is quicker. The Triassic period is the heyday of the reptiles. To exploit the vacuum left by the Permian extinction, reptiles evolved into a variety of different species. Now, they come in all different shapes and sizes. Some are docile plant eaters. Others, like Coelophysis, are predators. Coelophysis may look like your average reptile, but it's not. It's unusually fast on its feet, curious, and alert. Icarasaurus is the first reptile to learn how to glide. A hungry dinosaur will try anything once. Traversodont is a mammal-like reptile. To improve its chances for survival, it feeds at night and sleeps all day in a burrow. Demastasuchus is a docile plant eater. It uses its snout to nip ferns and root out tubers. The armor is for protection. Even its belly is plated. The spikes on its shoulders are 1.5 feet long, for good reason. At 20 feet, Rutiodon is one of the largest predators around. Its legs are short and project outward from its body, which inhibits speed. Demastasuchus is fair game for a worthy predator, but it's too much for Coelophysis. Insects have been around for over 100 million years, and some are huge. This locust can usually fly its way out of trouble. Coelophysis is built for speed. Its limbs are powered by a large muscle that extends from its thigh bone to its tail. Its ankle bones are designed to keep its feet straight while walking or running. A right-angle hip joint and an open socket positions its legs under its body, so it stands upright and moves fully erect. Its neck is long and shaped like an S, lifting its head above its body for greater visibility. Its fourth and fifth fingers are short, turning forelimbs once used for locomotion into hands that can manipulate food. With its long legs and erect gait, it can run longer and faster than any other reptile alive. Soon, the old order will slip away, and the dinosaurs will inherit the Earth. 45 million years after the Permian extinction, the Earth is once again under siege. Evidence suggests a comet entered the Earth's gravitational pull and disintegrated, hurling a stream of fragments toward the surface along latitude 23 degrees. 2 fell on Canada, 1 in France, forming a chain some 3,000 miles long. 2 more strayed into Minnesota and the Ukraine. With each impact, clouds of vaporized rock billowed into the atmosphere, blotting out the sun. Here, the Triassic period ends and the Jurassic begins. Now the land belongs to the dinosaurs. And in time, they'll be bigger and better.
This is one of the most dramatic kinds of transitions we can see in all of Earth history. And in this particular outcrop is that we actually have the boundary between the Triassic down here and the Jurassic up here. These layers, especially this white layer and this little black layer, which is a coal, extend for miles around in this area. Within this white layer, we've found elevated amounts of the element iridium, which is relatively rare in the Earth's crust, but relatively more abundant in asteroids and comets. My colleagues and I have concluded that this white layer is evidence of an impact of a giant asteroid on Earth. Now, there are very few places in the world you can see anything like that, and it makes this spot absolutely unique.
A group of flesh eaters is on the prowl. This is Syntarsus. At 10 feet from head to tail, They're about the same size as their forerunners in the Triassic. But these guys aren't chasing bugs. They're stalking dinosaurs. Ankylosaurus is a plant eater. Although it walks on all fours, it spends most of its time on its hind legs browsing in the trees. A claw on its thumb is its only protection. Centaurus and Ankylosaurus may look similar now, but in the future, they'll go their separate ways. Ankylosaurus will evolve into sauropods, the largest plant eaters of all time. Its leaf-shaped teeth are well suited for plucking vegetation. Its neck is long for reaching into trees, and the claw on its foot is ideal for digging or pulling down branches. Centaurus will evolve into theropods like Allosaurus and T-Rex. Its jaw is designed to absorb the stress of struggling prey. Its wishbone, only found in birds, helps make its arms more flexible. And its three-toed feet allow for faster running than the plant eaters. Ankylosaurus is clearly outclassed. Only one thing intimidates a predator, a bigger one. Dilophosaurus towers over its competitors and its prey. This is no ordinary predator. It's a triple threat. It can slash, bite, and run. A meal comes none too soon when there's a hungry mouth to feed. But there's no time to relax when a stranger is sneaking around. The carcass of Ankylosaurus is too large for one sitting. The dinosaurs will eat their fill. Then they'll be back.
This is one of the most amazing slab of footprints I've ever seen. The tracks are raised because it's the mud that filled in the tracks, rather than pushed down as it would be if they were the actual tracks. But more abundant on this slab are various different sizes of dinosaur footprints, particularly theropod dinosaur footprints. There are small individuals like this one here. You can see 3 toes right there. It was a carnivore, you can see from the very sharp and large claws. This is about as large as late Triassic dinosaur footprints get, not all that much bigger than the palm of my hand. When we get over the Triassic-Jurassic boundary, however, we see an immediate and abrupt increase in the maximum size of theropod dinosaur tracks. We get up to the size of truly large carnivorous animals. There aren't many other kinds of footprints around. Gone are tracks of things like Desmatosuchus, and in their place is an almost completely uniform assemblage of various sizes of theropod dinosaur footprints, basically large and small versions of this.
The rules of the forest are simple. Kill or be killed, or steal. Syntarsus may be a hunter, but it's also an opportunist. Ironically, Dilophosaurus and Syntarsus are family. They're both ceratosaurs. But you'd never know it. Dilophosaurus is still a primitive dinosaur. In the future, carnivores will have 3 fingers instead of 4. Their heads will grow larger, their bodies more massive, and the crest will disappear. Dilophosaurus may be top dog for now, but when predators get bigger, so does the prey. The descendants of Ankylosaurus have nowhere to go but up. Salt Lake City, Utah, lies nestled in a valley at the foot of the Wasatch Range. But 150 million years ago, these snow-capped mountains didn't exist. Instead, the climate was warm and seasonal, and the land was a vast savanna that stretched from Canada south to New Mexico, and from Idaho east to Nebraska. It's the dry season. As far as the eye can see, the once verdant plain has shriveled to a few scattered trees and drought-resistant plants. An empty streambed is a highway to nowhere. No rain has fallen for months, and the heat is relentless. In times of drought, dinosaurs, like Triasaurus, flock to their favorite river. Here, water usually flows year-round. But now, it's gone dry, and the ponds have turned to salt. This Stegosaurus is looking for a seep. Like African elephants, digging for water sometimes pays off. But scratching out a living in the dry season is hard on the dinosaurs, big and little. When times are tough and life is under stress, anything can happen. Finding water is critical for Triasaurus. Her offspring are less than a year old. They've never experienced a drought. Today is a lesson in survival. They don't know they're being watched. Ceratosaurus is the last of its kind, but more dangerous than ever. Triasaurus is too small to defend her brood against a hungry predator. All they can do is run for their lives. Triasaurus's extra long legs make for speed. But one of her offspring lags behind. Now, the only hope is to find cover. In the Jurassic world, there's something even bigger than Ceratosaurus.
Jurassic river bottom preserved here at Dinosaur National Monument contains an extraordinary diversity of dinosaurs. There are 4 kinds of sauropod dinosaurs, 3 kinds of meat-eating dinosaur, there are 2 kinds of bipedal plant-eating dinosaurs, and of course there's Stegosaurus, the great plated dinosaur. Now these animals, when we look at their carcasses, we can see they're of the same condition of preservation. This suggests they all died pretty close to the same time. Well, what brought all these animals here? Most bone beds are of just one species. We believe that this was a location where there was a perennial river flowing through the savanna of the upper Jurassic of Western North America, and it dried up. Animals would come to this place during the dry season where seeps would bring water to the surface where everywhere else was dry. But on one particularly bad year, the river dried up completely. The animals, not wanting to leave their only known source of water, stayed until they finally died. We're looking at the deaths of the predators, the prey, young and old animals alike. Truly an extraordinary dinosaur deposit.
Like a caravan in the desert, a group of Camarasaurus lumbers towards an oasis, a grove of conifer trees. Long ago, the plant eaters found a way to coexist with nature and each other. When it comes to food, they live in a vertical world. Dinosaurus is tagging along. Without rain, the pickings are slim. But where the big sauropods go, Dinosaurus knows a feast is in the making. Camarasaurus thrives on the boughs of evergreens, high in the trees. Their strong teeth and powerful jaws literally rip the branches off. To reach them, Camarasaurus can do something most other sauropods can't. The vertebrae in its neck are strong, yet hollow, which makes them lightweight. A network of cable-like ligaments helps Camarasaurus hold its head in an almost vertical position. Sauropods don't chew their food, they gulp it. To digest it, they swallow stones called gastroliths, which grind the food in their stomach. Because Camarasaurus consumes large quantities of vegetation faster than it can process it, its belly is huge. The Dinosaurus makes short work of the scraps. They chew their food to speed digestion. A sauropod is a virtual bulldozer. They can wipe out a forest in no time by uprooting trees and plants. In the days to come, herds of sauropods will scour the landscape. But for now, it's one tree at a time. Two other local residents, a male and a female Stegosaurus, are also scrounging for food. For an animal the length of a bus and the weight of a rhino, its snout is small and toothless. Still, it's the largest dinosaur of its kind in the world. The plates on its back and its tail, bristling with 4-inch spikes, are designed to repel the most aggressive attackers. Flushed with victory, the male Stegosaurus begins to strut. His back plates are like feathers to a peacock. They're priceless when it comes to mating. The female's not ready. For the male, there's always tomorrow. The dry season is now in its 4th month, but a change is in the wind. Storm clouds bring the promise of needed rain. The monsoon will last for days. By storm's end, the landscape is transformed. Torrents of water cascade from the hills, and rivers begin to flow. Seasonal lakes and ponds magically reappear. Their muddy banks are a maze of footprints left by thirsty dinosaurs, large and small, both predator and prey, running helter-skelter together. But the coming of the wet season ushers in more than just rain. Apatosaurus has arrived. This is Dino of the Flintstones, in the flesh, all 30 tons. With legs the width of tree trunks and feet almost as big as bicycle tires, Apatosaurus is the elephant of the Jurassic, only 12 times heavier. Sauropods, like Apatosaurus and Camarasaurus, are the largest land animals the world has ever seen.
This is the most complete sauropod dinosaur ever found. It's a Camarasaurus, about 2 years old and already about 19 feet long. The sauropod dinosaurs are the kind of thing we always think about when we hear the word dinosaur. I grew up with Brontosaurus, now correctly called Apatosaurus. If we look around the world in the Upper Jurassic, sauropods are the dominant dinosaur. In fact, in North America, in any particular dinosaur quarry we find, we usually see as many as 4 different types. Some feeding high in the trees, some feeding low, grazing on the surface. They're an immense part of the fauna, very important to the ecosystem. You would think we'd know a lot about these dinosaurs. However, young and their eggs are virtually unknown. In fact, in all of Western North America, extending from Canada down to central New Mexico, we have not found a single sauropod eggshell fragment in the Morrison Basin. If we look at eggs from South America or from Europe, we see the sauropods laid eggs as big as soccer balls with eggshell about a 1/4 inch thick. Well, in Western North America and the Morrison, we do get dinosaur eggs, some of which are only 2 millimeters thick. So you would certainly think we'd be finding sauropod egg if it was here at all. This tells us that these animals were migrating into and out of the basin. Perhaps they were nesting in the lowlands of the mountains to the west, or perhaps to the north in Canada along the coast of the sea. Certainly, they weren't nesting and reproducing within the Rocky Mountain region.
Apatosaurus moves, the earth begins to tremble. Like elephants, these sauropods migrate long distances following the rainy season. Along the way, they graze on ferns and low-lying plants. To accommodate their immense size, Apatosaurus has perfected a way to eat the most amount of food with the least amount of effort. Sweeping its neck in an arc from side to side, it scours the ground like a giant vacuum cleaner. Apatosaurus is the length of a tennis court. Its tail alone is 30 feet long and ends in a whiplash. To carry the weight, Apatosaurus's backbone has tall vertebral spines over its hips. Attached to the spines are ligaments that hold its neck and tail up. At the front of its body, the spines are forked to brace its neck when moving it over the ground. A healthy adult has no enemies. Its size alone protects it. But stalking the herd is Allosaurus, the most advanced flesh eater of its day. This youngster has strayed from the center of the herd. Allosaurus is no quitter. There's plenty more fish in the sea. Tyrannosaurus has also been stalking the herd. Danger has a whole different meaning for Stegosaurus. For days, the male has been trying to lure the female into mating. Now, his persistence finally pays off. A season of sauropods has wreaked havoc on the land. For Apatosaurus, it's time to go. Dinosaurs this big are constantly on the move. Having eaten their fill, they head for greener pastures. Felled by a broken leg, Apatosaurus is mortally wounded. Today, Allosaurus is the victor. The sauropods will live on, and a whole new generation of titans will leave their footprints in the mud. Allosaurus will vanish into extinction. In Utah, the seasons come and go. Once again, the dry spell returns. Now all that hints at the passage of time are bones bleaching in the sun. Tomorrow, the curtain will rise on the Cretaceous, and a new cast of characters will appear. Some are sinister, some are strange, and some have never been seen before. Were it not for the Rio Grande River, New Mexico's largest city would be bone dry and uninhabitable, without a drop of water to drink. But 90 million years ago, the land beneath Albuquerque was a tropical swamp. During the Cretaceous, sea level began to rise, slowly flooding the interior of North America. In time, the Arctic Ocean joined the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico, creating a shallow inland sea that split the continent in two. On the southwestern shore of the sea, cool summer breezes and warm winter rain nurtured the seeds of a different kind of forest. For the first time, ancient stands of conifers and palms were joined by broadleaf trees like sycamores, magnolias, and poplars, along with a new crop of dinosaurs that had never been seen before. This is Zuniceratops, the first dinosaur with horns and frills to appear in North America. Although they're small now, about the size of a cow, In a few million years, their descendants will be 4 times as big. Until then, these docile plant eaters need protection. Where a herd of Zuniceratops goes, danger can't be far away. Lurking about are predators, and now they're more cunning than ever. Coelurosaurs are too little to be a threat to Zuniceratops. But nearby, what looks like a flock of weird birds is actually a band of dromaeosaurs already lunching on a carcass. The odor of a fresh kill lures an uninvited guest. The intruder is a loner, out for a free meal. The carcass is carefully guarded, and the leader of the pack, the alpha male, is in no mood to share. Outnumbered 3 to 1, the intruder knows when to quit. A dromaeosaur, or raptor, is the smartest, quickest, and most dangerous dinosaur alive. Alone, or in a pack, it's well equipped to deliver a lethal blow. The nasty claw on its foot works like a switchblade. A tendon attached to the calf muscle pulls it into the attack position. Its legs are strong, yet lightweight for speed. Its tail is stiffened by bony rods for balance, and its arms and hands are extra long for grappling with prey. Good eyesight, a keen sense of smell, and a big brain make the raptor a daunting predator. The escape from the pack was a close call. To keep on running is playing it smart, but the raptor's not out of the woods yet. Something's hiding in the bushes, but it's too large to elude detection. The raptor's leery. These are the claws of a carnivore. They look lethal, but looks can be deceiving. It may have the claws of a killer, but its long neck and small head belong to a plant eater. This is Nothronicus. The raptor's never seen a dinosaur like this before. Is it a predator, or is it prey? No other creature in the world looks like a half-plucked turkey and walks like a pot-bellied bear. Still, an oddball can be dangerous. Raptors seldom make mistakes, but Nothronicus is rare in North America. Like Zuniceratops, its ancestors also migrated from Asia. Therizinosaurs, such as Narrated, were once streamlined predators until they evolved into plant eaters, unlike the raptors.
In 1996, we began to find evidence of dinosaur bones here. After several months of exploring, we discovered a little bone bed, and it was in that bone bed we found an animal that has never been seen in the New World before.
It has claws, as you see here, and it's fairly nondescript. You'd think it's a meat-eating dinosaur. It told us we had a therizinosaur. These are amazing animals, only known from Asia, very poorly understood, and we now know they're extremely bird-like dinosaurs. But unlike the other bird-like dinosaurs, they're not meat eaters. They've become plant eaters.
And right behind me here, we discovered this small skull. This little skull belongs to a small theropod, or meat-eating dinosaur. And we believe it belongs to a group of dinosaurs called the Coelurosaurs, a brand new dinosaur from 90 million years ago.
Yeah, at first, when we were looking at the teeth, which are very well preserved here, we thought we might have a dromaeosaur, or as many people know, the raptors. But as we uncovered the skeleton, we began to realize we had a more primitive animal, a basal Coelurosaur. This animal may help unravel the origin of our classic Cretaceous dinosaurs.
Once a year, come spring, some dinosaurs have more on their minds than food. For Zuniceratops, it's the rutting season, and this young male is in his prime. The challenge is to entice a female into mating. Horns and frills evolved to scare off predators and discourage rivals. But to a female, they're sexy, if she's impressed. The female's not interested, but someone else is. Only the leader of the herd can mate with the females, and he's not about to relinquish his control. The object isn't to kill, it's to win by intimidation. For Northronicus, the noise is a minor distraction. For the raptors, it's a trumpet-sounding roll call. There may be injuries, and a wounded Zuniceratops is an easy kill. The opportunity is too good to pass up. Raptors share over 30 anatomical features with birds, which is why they look more like birds than primitive reptiles. Claws to the ready, the raptors are patient. The old male's been bested. His wound is minor, but his pride's been dealt a stinging blow, and the excitement's not over yet. When it comes to survival, the bonds of kinship transcend a family feud. The skirmish over, the raptors retreat, but they'll be back. For the once proud leader of the herd, time is running out. In the lush forests of New Mexico, an experiment in evolution is underway. Fleet-footed predators aren't new, but coelurosaurs are different. They're on the fast track. Their bones are lighter, which makes them even more agile and quick. They're also more active and better coordinated. The primitive feathers are for insulation. This is the body plan of the future. On the inland sea, the days are hot and humid, and the atmosphere unstable. But deep in the forest, it's business as usual. Deep in the forest, the dinosaurs are unaware a storm is brewing. Zuniceratops live most of their lives eating. They mate yearly. They're vulnerable when they're young and old or injured. The encounter with the raptors has taken its toll on the old male. Since the attack, the raptors have been stalking the herd. They're here to finish what they started. Spooked by the lightning, the herd scatters and runs. But the old male lags behind. The tinder is dry. Within seconds, sparks leap through the underbrush, setting the forest floor on fire. Soon the flames leap from tree to tree, igniting a firestorm. As it races through the forest, some creatures ignore the peril. When it comes to food, danger has no meaning for the raptors. Zuniceratops has been on the run since the first bolt of lightning struck. Now, what remains of the herd heads for safety as fast as their legs can carry them. Nothronychus is not far behind. But the flames overtake the raptors' escape route. Now nothing can outrun the fire.
In this area here, we have coaly material coming out of this sediment here. It's very likely that this material was actually produced by a fire. There are several lines of evidence, including the structure of the coaly material, but also not far from here, we have an upright charcoalified stump that was probably burned in place. When you have forest fires, you often have the roots burning down into the soil. And if this is the case, this is really exciting because this is not just a vague time when the dinosaurs lived. This is an actual event that would have happened when the dinosaurs were here.
In nature, disaster is a constant companion, and death comes in many guises. Dinosaurs not trapped by the fire flee in panic. Most will survive. For the creatures that perished, the conflict is over. For those that remain, what lies ahead is 30 million years of evolution. Triggered by unseen forces, the environment will gradually change, and so will the dinosaurs that live here. In the distant future, the offspring of Northronicus will grow bigger, weirder, and even more perplexing. The raptors will stay small, agile, and quick, but they'll get smarter. And the kin of Zuniceratops will become one of the most famous dinosaurs in North America. The granite faces of the presidents on Mount Rushmore in South Dakota celebrate 200 years of American history. But not far from here is another important landmark. 65 million years old, it's some of the last ground that dinosaurs ever walked on. During the late Cretaceous, the great inland sea retreated, causing a dramatic shift in the environment. Now forests and fields stretch for hundreds of miles in every direction. Grass has yet to evolve, so the plains are covered with ferns and herb-like plants. In the twilight of the Cretaceous, evolution is in overdrive. After 160 million years, the size and sophistication of the dinosaurs is breathtaking. But these creatures are the last of their kind. Triceratops is one of the largest animals on the northern plains. Although it's related to Zuniceratops, time has made a dramatic difference. These are giants, twice the size of a rhinoceros. Their heads are huge, up to 11 feet long, and their frills are 7 feet wide. Triceratops are plant eaters. They roam the plains in herds, grazing on ferns and small trees like palmettos, while keeping an eye on their young. Of all the plant eaters, Anatotitan is the most efficient because of the way it processes food. Members of the hadrosaur family, they're famous for their bills, which look like a duck's. Hadrosaurs tend to be big, up to 30 feet long. But Anatotitan is even bigger. They range up to 40 feet, the length of a bus. Here, size is no accident. 3 million years ago, a monster arrived in South Dakota. Now it's the scourge of the American West. Tyrannosaurus rex. T-Rex is the consummate killing machine. Its skull is a lethal weapon. Although it's 40 feet long, it's not the size of the animal that makes it deadly. It's the size of its mouth. The bigger the mouth, the bigger the bite.
Towards the end of the Cretaceous, the tyrannosaurs produced their largest version, an animal called Tyrannosaurus rex. And other families of dinosaurs did much the same things, like Triceratops, because the inland sea withdrew from North America. And as it withdrew, we had the introduction of a continental climate. The summers were hotter, the winters were colder, the days were warmer, and the nights were cooler. And under this kind of climatic regime, selection tends to favor large size in animals.
Quetzalcoatlus, the king of the pterosaurs. Named after an Aztec god, with a wingspan of 40 feet, this is one of the largest animals that ever flew. A pterosaur has no feathers. Its wings are made of a single membrane that stretches from the elongated fourth finger of its hands to its ankles. Its arm bones are hollow and thinner than a postcard. Tiny fibers, called actinofibrils, stiffen the membrane to give its wings lift. Although Quetzalcoatlus can fly under its own power, more often it glides on thermals, scanning the ground for a meal. Today, the carcass of a dead dinosaur proves irresistible. Quetzalcoatlus may soar like an eagle, but on land, it's a fish out of water. Nearby, Triceratops is feasting on shrubs. The last in a long line of horned dinosaurs, their ancestors migrated from Asia. With horns as long as broom handles and hides as tough as a rhino's, these dinosaurs have only one known enemy. Sensing danger, the group closes ranks. Head on, nothing could be more menacing than the frill and horns of an angry Triceratops. At 17 feet from tip to tail, this T-Rex is a teenager, less than half the size of its parents. The herd can wait. At a mere 200 pounds, Quetzalcoatlus is hamburger for this youngster. At a top speed of 30 miles an hour, a young T-Rex is one of the fastest dinosaurs around. Chasing prey for a living is a chancy business. Even carnivores like T-Rex are not always successful. At dusk, the odds are even poorer. Daylight favors the predators. As night falls, colors fade, depth perception decreases, and familiar images begin to blur. Without a kill, this youngster flunked its first test as a solitary hunter. But in a pack, a family of T-Rexes is a force to be reckoned with. The male stands 12 feet tall. The female is even bigger. A veteran of the combat zone, she bears the scars of a hard life. Her leg's been crippled by painful injury. Still, she rules the roost. A young T-Rex still relies on its parents for support. T-Rex's skull is huge, over 5 feet long, filled with air spaces to accommodate an elaborate network of nerves and muscles. Its brain is the size of a gorilla's. Its teeth are serrated for shearing meat, and its jaw is powerful enough to crush bone. While its arms are too short for grasping prey, its body is massive and robust. Its ribs are an interlocking array of bones designed to help it breathe. Equipped with strong, sturdy legs, T-Rex is braced to spring to the attack. Tomorrow, the youngsters will learn to hunt from the deadliest predator of them all.
Discovery of juvenile tyrannosaur bones led to some surprising changes in how we think about these animals. First of all, when we looked at the juveniles, it turned out that they weren't built the way we originally thought they were. They did not look like the adults. The legs were longer and more slender compared to their body size. Given that, we know these animals were extremely fast. This led to some speculation concerning the behavior of the juveniles in the pack structure. If we compare those dinosaurs to modern animals, we have analogs. When you look at a pride of lions, the female lions are generally much faster than the males because they're lighter weight. And very often they're used to scare up the prey and chase them back into the jaws of the male lion. Tyrannosaurs may have done something very similar. Because of their speed, they may have moved into a herd of duck-billed dinosaurs, scared up an individual or two, and these came back into the jaws of the adults who killed them.
Contrary to popular opinion, life in a primeval forest is filled with endless days of boredom. Moments of terror are only fleeting. Anatotitans are peaceful creatures. They'd like nothing more than to be left alone. Although they're almost as large as Tyrannosaurus rex, they have few defenses against a hungry predator, especially when they're old or sick. To protect themselves, Anatotitans congregate in herds and post sentries to look out for danger. Equipped with good eyesight, acute hearing, and a keen sense of smell, they're constantly on alert. Hadrosaurs seem to prefer a diet high in fiber. But unlike sauropods, that rely on stones and chemicals in their gut to break down vegetation, Anatotitans have the most sophisticated food processor yet devised by nature. The front of their muzzles are toothless and rigid for shearing plants. When chewing, their jaws move from side to side, allowing a battery of hundreds of tightly packed teeth to grind the food to a pulp. Hadrosaurs are one of the most successful dinosaurs that ever lived. Scores of different species once inhabited North America, from Texas to as far away as Alaska. From birth, a baby Anatotitan clings to its mother for protection, a behavior passed from generation to generation. As adults, hadrosaurs cling to each other, but it's not always foolproof. The Anatotitans have walked into a trap. The young T-Rex leaps like a bird dog flushing prey. The Anatotitans bolt for safety. Unaware, a second youngster is lying in wait. There's one more surprise in store. Mom. Tyrannosaurus rex has terrorized the land for the last time. An asteroid bigger than Mount Everest streaks across the sky and slams into Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula at an angle of about 30 degrees. The impact gouges out a crater 120 miles wide and sends an incandescent plume of vaporized rock arcing towards the northwest at speeds close to 10 miles per second. In minutes, everything for hundreds of miles is incinerated. In South Dakota, plants and animals suffer a different fate. Some are scalded by the heat. Others succumb to shock waves generated by the collision. An hour after impact, a cloud of dust and debris settles over North America. Temperatures drop, and acid rain begins to fall as nitrogen, burned by the heat, is washed out of the atmosphere. The sun won't shine again for months. First light reveals the devastation. 90% of all leaf-bearing trees and plants have been obliterated, and 70% of the animals have vanished. Most of the dinosaurs are now extinct.
There are many theories that try to explain why dinosaurs suffered such a massive extinction 65 million years ago. The evidence in the rocks here suggests that 65 million years ago, something major happened. We have iridium, we have shock quartz, we have microdiamonds. Along the Red Deer River of Alberta, though, we have some of the best evidence anywhere for showing us what was going on in those last few years of the dinosaurs' rule. For example, as we follow the Red Deer River upstream, we're literally going up in time. 10 million years before the dinosaurs disappeared, there were 35 species of dinosaurs living in this area. 5 million years before the end, there was only 20 or 25 species left. And just before the Great Extinction event, there was only about half a dozen species of dinosaurs in this area.
Not since the Great Permian extinction gave rise to the dinosaurs had an event been so catastrophic and so final. But life is resilient. In South Dakota, a turtle angles for a perch in the sun. A primitive mammal comes out of hiding. The only dinosaur visible, a bird, soars overhead to remind us of the giants that are gone. The dinosaurs are one of life's great success stories. From Alaska to Mexico, Maine to California, they roamed North America in huge numbers for a staggering 160 million years. In their day, they were the largest, brainiest, and most sophisticated creatures on Earth. It's unlikely anything so huge or captivating will ever pass this way again. But for a tiny mammal called Purgatorius, the future belongs to them. Someday their children will walk on the moon and think back in awe to a time when dinosaurs roamed America.